Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. May peace be upon those who follow the guidance. Welcome to Make It Plain. I'm your host, Askia Abdulaziz Muhammad Toure. My objective is not to be sarcastic towards any person, any group, or any entity, but my objective is to be in compliance to the rules of fairness and equity. Many people, including Muslims, their story has not been told. They've been marginalized in the media. You've been taken out of the history books as far as education institutions are concerned. Politicians demonize us to get voted to office. They play the politics of fear. So our objective is to give you the other side of the story. Today's topic is going to be on tithing. This is referring to what goes on in the Christian church. Tithing is under the law of Moses. It is a Old Testament concept. Christians, you are no longer under the law of Moses, but you are under the law of grace. So the question is, why are you paying tithes when you're not under the law? So what happens is that these ministers, they cherry pick the Bible, specifically the Old Testament. They cherry pick. Let me give you an example. In Deuteronomy 21:18-24, it talks about a man who has a son that is rebellious. And, he disobeys his parents, he's rebellious. They're having a lot of problems with him. So what the man does, the mother and the father, they go to the elders of the city, and they tell the elders of the city that they have a rebellious son. He disobeys them, he's disobedient. So what the elders did, they went on and stoned him to death. This is an example of honor killing that's in the Bible. You don't have honor killers in the Quran. There's no such thing as honor killing. There's no such thing as stoning anyone to death in this book here. This book is the Quran. This is the book that the Muslims follow, and there's no stoning in this book. It doesn't exist. Whereas in this book, the Bible, in Deuteronomy 21:18-24, it talks about stoning a child who was disobedient to their parents. So the ministers, they don't follow that part of the Old Testament. But what they do, they cherry pick and they go back and follow, they try to interpret it, Malachi 3, chapter 3, verse 10. That's where you basically get this tithing concept from, because they're trying to tell you that if you give tithes, you will receive blessings, great blessings if you give 10%. So these pastors, they use this in order to increase their wealth. They are the ones that may be living in a nice home. They are the ones that be driving a nice vehicle. And it's gotten so bad that many of these pastors have become multi-millionaires. They have mega churches. So you're not under the law, and you don't have to give tithes. And also, this tithes is referring to priests. It's dealing with priests. There's no priest in Islam. There's no intermediary. There's no one in between you and your Lord. There's no one in between you and your Creator. When you have this connection with your Lord, your Creator, it's a one-on-one connection. You don't have to go through an operator. If you call in a loved one today, you don't dial the operator. You don't go through anyone in order to make that connection. So in Islam, when you have a relationship with your Lord, your Creator, Allah is the one that created the heavens and the earth. That is the name that Jesus, may peace be upon him, used in the Aramaic language. The word for God is Allah. So Allah was the Lord of Jesus. So you don't need any priests. Historically, the priests, especially in the Roman Catholic Church, they have been known to molest kids. They have put out millions of dollars, billions of dollars of lawsuits. So they've been out here molesting these children. So there's no priesthood in Islam. In the Muslim community, in the Muslim world, we don't have that problem. So this tithe thing is referring to priests. So if you don't have any priests, then you don't have to give any tithes. Now in Islam, you can give charity, you can help someone who's poor, your money can go for a variety of reasons. Even in the Quran, in chapter 9, verse 60, there's 8 categories of giving what we call zakat. And in one of those categories that you give your money to freeing a slave. If you had slavery going on today, you would free a slave based on chapter 9, verse 60 of the Quran. There's 8 categories, but that's just one example. So what I'm trying to say is to the non-Muslim audience, you don't have to give tithes. You still have people giving tithes that lives in housing projects and living under difficult circumstances, and there's been no blessing that's went to them as far as building them up, bringing them out of the projects. So there's a discrepancy in that teaching. You're not under the law of Moses. We Muslims, we under the law of grace. Allah is most gracious, He's most merciful. Whenever you read a verse from the Quran or either one word from the Quran, you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, in the name of God, the most beneficent, the most compassionate, because all that is beneficial comes from Allah. It doesn't come from Moses, it doesn't come from Jesus, may peace be upon him, it doesn't come from Moses, may peace be upon him, it doesn't come from Zechariah, it comes from Allah. He is the one that is the most beneficent. He bestows His grace on whoever He pleases. And He tells you in His book, in the last revelation, that the people of the Bible, that you do not have a monopoly on God's grace, that He bestows His grace on whoever He pleases. It's in His hands to bestow His grace on whoever He pleases. So in Islam, He gives the barakat, the blessing. It's not coming from that you have to go through a priest who may be molesting a child, because you don't know whether that priest has been molesting a child. So in Islam, we have no clergy. This is the straight way. Islam is the best way. It's the last revelation. We don't have any pope. You had Pope Nicholas. He endorsed the West African slave trade, so you don't need a pope. We don't have any priests. Many priests have molested kids, or they overlooked the priests that were molesting children. We don't have any bishops. We don't have any archbishops. We don't have any deacons. We don't have any cardinals. You don't have no intermediaries. You have a direct connection with your Creator. When you make a phone call today, you call directly. You should have that same relationship with your Lord, and you call on your Lord directly. That's Islam. It has always been like that. When Jesus, may peace be upon him, when He called on His Lord, He called on His Lord directly. He did not go through no intermediary, because all the prophets were Muslims. And what you all can do, there's a Jewish professor over in Israel. He has a YouTube video, and he tells you that all the prophets were Muslims, because he knows the information. He has the manuscripts that's been hidden from people like yourself. They don't teach you everything, and this is what this channel is all about, is to make it plain. So I ask you all to type in, go to YouTube and type in Jewish professor admits that all the prophets were Muslims. Then you have another scholar, a Jewish scholar. He says that Islam is the oldest path. You're not going to get that from your minister. The minister, your preacher, he's not going to tell you that all the prophets were Muslims. So the only thing you have to do is type in YouTube, go to YouTube, type in Jewish professor admits that all the prophets were Muslims, including Jesus. He was a Muslim. He was a person that submitted his will to the will of God. He tried to follow the instructions of God, and he submitted his will to the will of his Lord. So until next time, may peace be upon you. Assalamu alaikum.